Time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Stone, and we are your guides on your journey into the heart of the primordial.
Welcome to season 7, episode, is it 17? I'm not going to check. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
Okay, cool.
so,
17 seems good.
yeah. And along those lines, the title is Why Do You Care?
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. I have
So,
I have a thing I can start with if you
all
like.
right. You ever?
So previously, on a previous edition,
That's right.
we briefly mentioned the seven deadly sins,
Right.
right? Pope Gregorius the First, I think, wrote them. Came up with them? Well, I did a little looking into them, and
Mhm.
actually, there were eight original
Oh,
evil thoughts. They were referred to as evil thoughts.
uh,
And I'm interested by this because the eighth one, they're kind of some absorbed into other of the seven, but the
right.
eighth one, the different one, is vainglory.
Oh, okay.
Which, when you look at the definition of that, it's all about doing things in order to appear a certain way
Right.
rather than living that as a truth.
Yes.
And I am very interested in why nobody is resurrecting this. I use the term intentionally.
Hmm.
Why is nobody bringing this one forward, given the current push for all things Christian, particularly in the US, right?
Right.
Now we know that Christians aren't really Christians here. That's generally speaking the thing. And I
Right.
appreciate also that as it was a pope that came up with it, it's Catholic origin,
Right.
right? But you would think, given social media, which is the very definition of vainglory,
Yes.
like, is it not personified?
Hmm.
So why have we not brought that one forward as being problematic? Like, why has nobody brought that forward? I'm just curious, right? Because to me,
Hmm.
those seven deadly sins are actually indicators of what you ought to be doing. So
Right.
I'm going to take a very different approach to that. Um,
Hmm.
but vainglory is a little different, and it's apropos of right now. Like, it's exactly what is
Yep.
happening everywhere. I mean, what's politics?
Hmm.
100% vainglory. What's social media? Absolutely that. TV, everything. Like, where is it not a feature?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's literally
Isn't
the
that
time
interesting?
yeah, it's literally the time we're living in. I, just to add, uh, I became familiar with the word vainglory through comic books because when you're writing pieces about like demigods and whatever, big words come out. And so I think the first time I ever heard it was using the term of vainglorious fool. Your actions will be your own demise or something like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I just thought that was so interesting that this one kind of got chopped off the bottom of the list.
Yeah,
And
that is interesting.
what I'm curious about really is everybody, like, in the US, it's all about let's have the Ten Commandments up in every schoolroom. I can't for the life of me imagine why. I don't know how that can be considered even vaguely helpful, but okay, that's the thing. So that they're pushing certain things, and
Mm.
yet this one is huge right now. If
Right.
if you were to, I wouldn't even say it's a deadly sin per se, and deadly sin, as I think you mentioned last time,
Mm.
it's basically your soul doesn't go to heaven, right? Like your
Mm.
soul dies.
Yeah, the end of the world,
That's
your
what the
soul gets
deadly
destroyed.
part
Yeah.
is, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know that I'd go as far as to say it's going to kill your soul, although let's leave that one open to interpretation. Um, but I just find it so interesting that nobody's saying a word about it. Is it because they don't know it was ever a thing, or somebody must know?
Someone somewhere knows because someone is always interested in this kind of thing. But yeah, I don't, like I said, I remember it as the seven deadly sins. I don't remember, but yeah, vainglory definitely should be up there because I mean, you have pride, right, as one of the seven deadly sins, but you would think it's in the parameter of pride at least.
And, really, pride. Okay, it's a good one to look at.
Yes.
What's wrong with pride? Depending on, of course, on how you define it. So,
Yeah.
as we've discussed many times, you can play with words and make them mean all kinds of things. But pride is basically, do you take pride in your work? Do you
Mm.
take pride in how you show up for things? Do you take pride in keeping your front lawn looking nice? Like, whatever it is, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? That's giving yourself a standard. And being pleased with yourself when you attain that, but it's not a negative thing unless you take pride and slip it into vainglory.
Well, and that's kind of, I'll go kind of, because from the perspective of someone who grew up Catholic and therefore at least peripherally to what everyone else would consider Christianity, because Catholics sometimes are included, sometimes not included, depending who you're asking. But the idea when I grew up, as I understood it, as a sin or pride just in general and why it was considered bad was because you're taking credit for something that God did. You don't do
Ah,
anything, God acts through you. So any good thing that happens, it was like this. Anything that good that happened, it's God. If it was bad, it's you.
uh-huh.
So if you be
Well,
proud of an action, you're taking glory away from that. That's
now
why pride is a sin.
if ever there was a control mechanism that's so obvious, it would be that one, right?
Right. And to tie it to a modern concept, the profits are privatized, the losses are socialized. As in the
Boom,
good goes to me, the bad is you.
boom.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. And when things go south, well, we all have to pull together. Do
Right.
we though? Did we all create this?
Did we all benefit from
There's,
it? Did we all get the rewards of it? The fruits of the
uh-huh.
labor? No? Okay, well then you know what?
Think
You
of it
can reap
even
what you sowed.
when you work for a company, they typically these days are very fond of doing the whole, we're a family here.
Hmm.
Bullshit. I wouldn't hang out with these people. Like, what do you mean this is a family?
Yeah.
So no, but they do the whole, let's all pull together and we all do these wonderful things. And you slip up one time in one way, and it is all about you. There's no family matter then,
Right.
right? So yes, I think we can see this across places, and you see it even creeping into sort of spiritual witchcraft, light worker, any
Mm.
approach you want to look at. You see the whole vainglory thing there too, right?
Right.
It slips into the aesthetics sometimes, where it's only about how you look. Daniel's like, "What?" I just activated him.
Yes.
I prodded a button there.
Yes. The title, Why Do You Care?
Hmm.
But the minute you hit that, because this week I've been so, how does that go? I've been so over all these light workers, galactic, whatever thing you want to call yourself, because it's like it's your ego. You need these titles. You need for your ego. You're not doing it because you want to do. You're not doing it. It's not that the people may not be kind. I'm not trying to go there, but the idea it makes you feel special.
It's separate,
Yeah.
right? I'm separate from the herd. I'm
Right.
not like you. I'm a starseed.
Yeah.
Or I'm not like you. I'm a whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And for some people, though, it purely is the
Mm.
aesthetic. They just
Right.
like the way it looks. And so there's a statement, but the statement is superficial, literally. It's how they look. They don't actually do anything that would warrant the title, if you will. Now, do I have a problem with that? I don't honestly care, other than it's so. Do you? Why do you care?
Mm.
I don't, especially, but it's. I do object to the extra noise, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just more stuff you have to cut through to get
Mhm.
to, are you interested in the same stuff as me? Do we do the same kind of things, or no, you just like to look that way? Oh, okay, cool.
Well,
Let me talk
that's
to the next person, it's
right.
like,
And so that's the question, right? Why do you care? It's not as in the flippant, why do you care? It's the, no, you're doing this. Why do you care about doing this? And it goes
right,
back to the whole thing of jobs, right? I was watching a video and they're discussing like, how jobs have changed over the years and how for the last maybe 30 or 40 years, like it's a cult now. That question, why do you want to work with us? And you're not allowed to just answer because I need money, which is the only real reason why you're there, right? Because
right?
for most places, like if you go to McDonald's and they ask you, why do you want to be there? It's like, I need
Oh,
to answer
because
that
I
question. Like, come on.
I love serving
Yeah.
burgers to people when they're pissed at 11
Yeah.
o'clock or 12 o'clock at night. It's been my dream since I was
Yeah.
5. Or I
Yeah.
need to pay rent. Could I have a
Right.
job now? Like seriously.
But that's kind of the thing, right? So you get that cultish mentality of this make because people join cults because they want it at some level they want to feel special because they feel out like there's nothing for them, so that makes them feel special, like they're a part of something. And
Hmm.
so yeah, so you do end up getting whether or not being a star seed or whatever, a light worker or part of the galactic whatever thing you want to say, like it becomes a cult. Not because maybe
Yeah.
the initial intention was that, but at some point, the people who need to feel special will move into it, and the people who want to take advantage of that will take over.
Hmm.
Like I was gonna say, because like of all the groups I belong on, because I'm just trying to figure out what everyone is seeing, what everyone is learning, and I see it a lot. Even like when people don't necessarily realize they're doing it, it's like I still see that cultish mentality creeping in, and it's like these guys are missing the point. Even I don't know if this is relevant, but it won't leave me alone. One of the things I saw today was this was for beginning witches, and the person said, "Am I allowed to?" And then cast the
Right.
spell for, I think
Hmm.
it was to open the eyes of Americans. And I'm like, I wanted to say, well, you know what? I've been doing something similar for like over a year now, and it's not just Americans specifically, but it's like, are you allowed
But
to? That's
who are
insane.
you asking?
Yeah.
Right? Like who whose opinion do you want on that one? And for crying out loud, like stop, sit down for a minute. Am I allowed to? What are you, 3? Like this is
Hmm.
not, this is a question of somebody who requires a rule book.
Right.
This is a question of somebody who requires a hierarchy.
Hmm.
They require somebody to report to, in which case you're in the wrong room because that's not how this is set up. Like, if you want something like that, maybe try Wicca,
Mm.
because not to be dissing Wicca particularly, but they do have a hierarchy. They have a structure, right? And there's a rule book. There's like the threefold law
Yeah.
and this kind of stuff, which really is imported from Christianity. So I'm going to piss off a bunch of Wiccans now, but I kind of think of it as witchcraft light. Now, does that put me into the category of one of those obnoxious people who are like, "You're not like us"? But if you need the rule book and you need you can't do this, you can do that, it must look like this, it can't look like that. Um, all of us do white magic here, none of us do black magic, etc., etc. Then that is not how those who don't follow the rule books work. That's not how we operate. And
Yeah.
so they are different in that respect. It's
So,
it's it's like I see it like a stepping stone from religion to, getting towards witchcraft.
right. So I told Michaela at the beginning before we started recording that my pendulum wanted to get in on the episode, and it just entered the episode. It has an opinion on the matter.
Okay.
And that opinion is you're not connected to flow if you have to ask that question.
Yes, I would go with that. I would go with that.
Because
Hmm.
if you were looking at should I be casting this spell and you're connecting yourself to the flow will let you know. You'll know from the flow you're getting,
Well, it's honestly not a question.
right?
So that's the part that leaps out to me is when did that become a question? Like you're obviously using your conscious mind
Mm,
to decide I should do this, I should do that. You're shooting on yourself, right?
right.
Like I need to do this spell to make that person fall in love with me, to open the eyes of America, like whatever it is.
Right.
But but you're not feeling it. It's not downloading for you.
Hmm.
You're not in it because
Right.
if you're in it, you're not asking the question. There's no question. It's just something you're here to do. And so either it is or it isn't, but there's no question.
Right. And that's yeah, because I was gonna say, because like so my pendulum, right? It just doesn't do the yes, no, whatever answers. Like it does spells with me. It helps regulate the flow of energy. That's really what it wants to do. Yeah, it'll do the oracle, whatever stuff. It'll answer questions, but it doesn't really want to do that. It wants to be active in the flow of the energy of what I'm doing. And so that's why it kind of came on. So that was the point of it. It's like, so yeah. So if you have to ask yourself a question, should I be doing it? You have two reasons, right? Either you're not connected to the flow because you would have your answer. And I don't mean that in a like kind of a I'll do whatever the hell I want kind of an idea. It's the do you really feel what needs to be done? Are you
Mm,
seeing, if you're trying to help, is your help going to be helpful? Because maybe casting the spell isn't the right thing for you, but if you're not sensing where things, what's happening and you're not in the flow of it, then you don't know what to do and you have to ask questions. But the thing is, when it comes to magic, if you're not in the flow of it, then maybe don't do something
right.
because it's
It's
not yours.
I just feel that if you have to ask somebody else,
Mm,
particularly when you're asking somebody else that you don't know,
right.
right? So you have no idea what value their opinion has. They could be completely ill-informed. They could be an absolute, witch of the first order or
Mm,
whatever that looks like. Or, it could be an entity that you're asking. But the point
mm,
is you don't know. So
right.
how do you evaluate the response you get? By what measure do
Yeah.
you decide whether their yes is worth anything or their no is worth anything? Where are they coming from in this? Like, there's so many things wrong with asking that question simply because you can't evaluate the answer, right?
Hmm.
And spell work, in my understanding anyway, is not something that you have to get consensus on or approval for.
Right.
You're doing your thing because it speaks to you to do it.
Yes.
And so, like Danielle, you do your things and you do your
Hmm.
spells. You never once have you said to me, "Do you think I should do this?"
That's right.
And I would be quite perplexed if you did because you'd be like, "Why are you asking me?"
Yeah.
And it has never occurred to me to ask you if I should be doing this thing or doing it differently or whatever. It's like, no, this doesn't even come up to be dismissed because it's
Right.
not necessary. You're doing your things, I'm doing my
Yeah.
things. And like those questions, it's kind of a surprise to even consider that somebody would
Yes.
ask that. But I've seen it too.
Yeah.
And oh, hey, I'm a baby witch, please be kind.
Hmm.
Should I do this? Should I do that? And I'm like, Lord above, where are we here? What's going on here? And I applaud somebody wanting more information.
Right.
I
You
I
can always
think
be curious.
the
Hmm.
vulnerability is a little um zealous, like too much. I
Mm.
was going to say
Yeah.
zealous, but no, that's not the right word. It's a bit you're opening yourself to all kinds of possibilities there, and a lot of them aren't good, right?
Yeah.
So you don't go into a witchcraft group and ask people for their opinions. That's just not really, unless you're trying to read some signs on something and you really aren't sure. You could look to see if anybody says anything that inspires you or sparks
Right.
something, but it's different from tell me what to think.
Yeah.
And
It's not,
tell me what to think is not a witchcraft style of thing. It
right.
just isn't. That's it's an anathema, in fact, to the very practice of witchcraft. You don't need to ask anybody, can I do it this way?
Right.
I don't know, can you? That is the only answer. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It comes back. Yeah, we're
It
back.
comes back to
It was a dog interruption, so we had to pause for a second because my reflex game is not as good as it could be. So there was a bit of a gap. So there was no point in pretending that there wasn't a pause.
no, that's fine. Yes, unfortunately, one of my dogs has discovered how to get in the greenhouse. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway, yes, we were talking about asking questions that
Yeah.
you don't really need answers for.
No. What I was gonna throw in on that was like, so there is a place in magic for like your curiosity and for, throwing ideas around with other people. And but, because you had said vulnerability, but it's not a place for vulnerability where you're giving up your strength.
Right.
You can be open and honest and vulnerable, but you have to own it.
Well, you got to be careful where you do that
Yeah.
too, though,
Yes.
because you don't know in those large groups, you have no idea who's in there. And there can be bad actors,
Hmm.
right? There can be people in there who are coming in to disrupt because they disapprove of the entire sort of
Right.
premise behind the group, right? So opening yourself up to whatever's there is the act of somebody that has not been practicing witchcraft because you're not going to do that. And if you have been doing that, dear listener, please stop. It's not safe. And at most, if you have asked questions and if you intend to ask questions, then at the very most, use the responses you get as something to test for yourself.
Hmm.
Does that feel accurate? Do you think, do you feel like that would work for you? Does it inspire something? Ideally, does it inspire something, yes or no? And if so, how do you feel about that? Figure it out for yourself, even if you have asked for answers, because you're going to get a lot of nonsense and there's judgments, there's a lot of,
Hmm.
well, if you do this, it's wrong, and if you do that, it's this. No, 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 no. They don't get to tell you that. Nobody gets
Hmm.
to tell you that. And if you find someone that's saying things like only white witchcraft is acceptable, first of all, define that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through the motions. Sure, it's all the good, juicy spells.
Mm.
What do you define as good? Because your
Yeah.
version of good and mine might not be the same. So where are we going there? Then you have grey witchcraft. I think that means you didn't decide what you're doing yet,
Right.
honestly. And then black witchcraft. Okay, so you're getting into some serious stuff with that. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, and it may be very much warranted.
Mm.
Perhaps you are doing something that is going to have an impact that is protective and requires what is considered more dark measures. Well, we all have light and dark. What's the point in pretending it's only, we only do white witchcraft here?
Right.
It's like walking into an office and seeing that bloody irritating sign that says, "We're all crazy here,"
Mm.
or "You don't have to be crazy to work here, but it
That
helps."
helps.
And I'm like, I head for the door when I see that stuff.
Mm.
I just can't stand it because you guaranteed you got the most boring people on the planet sitting behind that sign. It's just it's a thing for me. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I see it because normally, it's you can look at it, the idea in literature and well, whatever entertainment is show, don't tell. Your
right.
behavior will tell me what you are. You don't have to give me an exposition. I can tell by looking,
Exactly.
I can do by what you're. I can discern it for myself by watching you. I don't need you to tell me what it is.
We are having an interesting
Yeah.
puppy time right now.
Yeah. Well, like I said, right? That's the clever dog, and the clever dog, when she grows up, she's going to lead the rest, but she'll be clever.
Uh-huh.
Was it
Yeah.
when you're exceptional, you're always a pain in the ass as a kid, but once you're an adult, everyone loves you?
There you go. Well, right now she's a kid.
Yeah.
She's a pain in the ass.
But yeah, so show don't tell in magic. I would argue if you're not selling your services, don't worry about all titles and stuff like that. Just do you. People will either see you for what you are or they won't. And
And
it's not a good thing or a
honestly,
bad thing. But yeah.
flying under the
Mm.
radar, with or without your broomstick, like
Right.
flying under the radar, though, is not a bad thing
Mm.
because it means you can continue to do what you do without other people bothering you.
Mm.
So, unless there's a need to be open with it for some reason, which I did not have for the longest time, and I do
Right.
right now, but unless you feel the need to do that, don't be swayed by others that, oh, this is the cool in thing. Because
Right.
here's a question too. If if and when the hammer goes down and they start coming after you because you're
Mm.
not a Christian,
Right.
because you don't fit
Yes.
in their box, right? Like you're the uh currently trans people are a
Mm.
target. But what if people who identify as witches become targets? Would you run? Like, will you kind of jump ship as fast as possible? And if so, okay, your choice entirely. I'm not telling anybody to compromise their own safety, but it's the thought process that I'm asking for right
Right.
now. Where would you sit in that space? Like, is it something that you could very easily say, "Oh, who, me? Nah, I don't do any of that. No, I'm a good Christian or
Mm.
whatever." Um, because that will help you know a little clearer whether this is really something that you want to do.
Mm.
Like, is it really for you?
Yeah.
Could
Yeah.
could you easily switch to something else another person preferred? You know, and this, I'm not right nor wrong in anybody for that, but it's kind of a way of looking at, do I mean it? Or do I
Mm.
just kind of want to jump on the current vogue, right? I saw somebody say the other day, Becky went to Whole Foods and now she thinks she's a witch.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, there's some of that. There's some of that. And is it harmful? No, it's just it can be distracting if you think what you're looking at is representative. Um, it's confusing for people who
Mm.
don't know what they're looking at. Um, I had someone ask me the other day about being a witch and what does that mean? And, she had the very biblical version of that, which
Right.
I pointed out is a poisoner, not a witch. It's a mistranslation.
Mm.
Uh, and she was very wide-eyed and she was like, "Oh, so why do people have a problem with this then?" I said, "Because they have the same lack of knowledge that you had before you asked the question, only they don't ask the question."
Right.
That's the difference, right? It's no problem in not knowing what you're looking at or listening to, but there is if you act on it, on that lack of knowledge. So, and it gets confusing when you've got, Becky at Whole Foods and, um, you know, Janina with her piercings and tattoos and, long fingernails or whatever else, when it's the aesthetic versus, yeah, but what do you actually do?
Well, that's the thing, right? Because you get the aesthetic versus what the actual thing is, and that's where the issue comes in. Or I mean,
Sometimes it can go together, let's be fair.
yeah,
You can have the two things, um, but often it doesn't go together.
no, it's funny. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say because like if you just see me on the street, I don't know if you'd peg me as a practitioner of magic. Like
No, no, I don't think so. But
I
then,
don't think it screams. off of me.
But but then that's not something most people would expect if they see me either, and
Hmm.
that's just fine, because I have no need for them to look at me and identify what I do
Yeah.
when I'm not walking down the street, right? Like that's just, yeah, I think we're getting so confused these days
Mm.
with the need to be visible
Right.
simply because everybody is, and just doing your own thing. We have a modern day fear
Mm.
of irrelevance,
Yes. Yes.
and that could be like the ninth deadly sin, if you will.
Mm.
It's the other side of the coin with vainglory in a
Mm.
way. Um, we all have a need to be relevant.
Mm.
Um, One of the ways that shows up, that kind of it's a bit like poking me in the side, like it's a bit of an irritant,
Right.
is where people keep talking about legacy. What's
Aye.
your legacy? What's your legacy going to be? Are you creating a legacy? What do you define a legacy as? Like, how long is it going to prolong your mortality
Mm.
after you've gone? For whom? Um, is that something you really want to pour your effort into? Why? And typically the answer to the why is in more words, but basically a
Mm.
fear of being irrelevant. What
Mm.
happens if nobody notices that I was here? Well, somebody noticed you were here, but will they notice after you're gone? Probably not. Maybe for a little while, but
Yeah.
not for more than a generation. That's
No, that's
normal.
right.
But it's normal, right? And the people who are remembered long after, like Shakespeare, for example, leaps to mind. Yeah, but that person that we all call Shakespeare, who
Right.
we say we know all about. No, we don't. What we know about Shakespeare is nothing like the original person
Right.
because it can't be. We change things all the time to suit the narrative that we want,
Yeah.
right? So, Gandhi has become somebody entirely different from how he
Mm.
was. He wasn't warm and fuzzy the way people like to say he was. He wasn't Zen, not at all. He caused an awful lot of massacres in India, and it cost a lot of money to keep him that poor
Yep.
and have his massive entourage, etc., etc.
Hmm.
So this legacy business, what the hell's that all about? What's the point to that? Are we doing this just to prove a point? To like, but you all have to know I was here. Why?
I
Then
think it,
what?
yeah, I think it's well, it's kind of what always happens. It's the as a species, we like having things that we can share in common. So if someone becomes famous, one, we assume they became famous because they did something exceptional, and then that becomes part of the story of your group. And so
Kind
that
of
story unifies. But
fame by proximity kind of thing.
yeah, well, I mean, it's like my problem with the Olympics, right? Like I always say, right? Oh, look, we have our sprinter came in first, whatever, and got like record time. Okay, well, until 3 years ago, that sprinter lived in Jamaica. So
Right.
how much does Canada have an influence on the fact that he's a world champion sprinter, like or she,
Uh-huh.
whatever, you know what I mean? Like, where does that come from? Yeah, okay, you can be proud, whatever, but like, what do you get it? Like, what you didn't run, you didn't coach, you didn't do anything to make that happen. But
Right.
that's kind of a me thing, right? Like when I look at how to word that, because I don't have that sense of patriotism. I don't have that. I have the rawest form of those connections. I don't have the stories built on it.
Hmm.
You know, like if I did nothing to bring you to your thing, I don't take credit for it. I'm happy for you, but I don't take credit for it. Like,
Right.
and I had used this before. I think like, okay, so one of the arguments for is Superman an American hero or is he a Canadian hero? Well, okay, yeah, one of the creators came from Canada, but he wasn't living in Canada when it happened, when he created it, and he didn't really live here his whole life. So, like, how do we as a country supposed to take credit for someone else's work? You know?
It's yeah, that's one of those very fickle things,
Yeah.
right? Ben Johnson
Mm,
was Canadian until I think it was a doping scandal or
mm,
something, and then suddenly he was Jamaican born.
yeah.
Fascinating. I remember that one very clearly
Yeah.
and how it changed overnight, right? Because we
And
want to
it's
shift the
right.
narrative to. So why do you care? Is it's such a good question, actually. I like
Right.
that we
And
started
like
with that
I
because
and like yeah, and I'm taking from the perspective of like I did nothing to contribute to this. So good for you, but I can't say we because I had nothing to do with it. Right? Like
right,
I'm happy for you, because like and like I think I don't know if we said on the podcast or just a discussion after, right? One of our favorite things about sports is not so much having a team we like, but so much as are they giving me a good show? Are they showing me, a really good
right,
game? And then that's the
100%.
person you start to root for. 'Cause it's like, hey, this person's going out there. They're showing me some fantastic stuff. I don't care if their jersey is different or whatever their name is. Like they're giving me a good show, and that's what they're paid for, and that's why I'm watching you. And so, hey, you're the one who gets my admiration.
Hmm. Yeah, in fact, it's a funny thing. As the listener probably knows by now, and you certainly do, I am
Yeah.
a huge fan of American football. I
Right.
love American football. I have done for years, since like mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, that long. I love American football. And I don't care which teams are playing. I will watch anybody because I like to see good
Mm-hmm.
players
Right.
and I don't like to see half-assed players because if I'm going to give it my attention, they should at least show up.
Right.
And I've never been so attached to a team that I'm miserable at the end of a game just because they lost on the last play,
Right.
and so many games are affected that way. And you see entire stadiums of
Mm-hmm.
people whose days just got ruined or their week or their whatever based on this particular group of people wearing a certain color that they either stopped that last play or they didn't, or
Right.
they made that last play or they didn't. But they all came from different teams at different times. It's
Right.
like it's just so interesting to be so hooked into something that is clearly a major distraction. Like
Right.
I know it's a distraction. I appreciate it as a distraction. I
Mm-hmm.
will use it as a distraction, 100%. But it just why do you care if your team in air quotes,
Mm-hmm.
like okay, you're born in Colorado, so it must be
Mm-hmm.
Denver.
Right.
But what if the players suck? Are you still gonna vote for are you still gonna root for Denver and give them all your money? And because football's expensive. You want to
Yeah.
buy all the expensive jerseys and stuff. It's just I think this whole the whole thing we've got going on in modern times right now
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of distraction in the name of belonging. I'm
Right.
in this group, I'm in that group, I'm in with the in crowd, I follow these guys. And none of this stands up to scrutiny. When you start asking yeah, but why do you care about that? Why is it this? How did you get to that conclusion? Why are you behaving
Mm-hmm.
this way over here when actually you used to do that? Like, what's the difference? And it doesn't stand up because it's shallow. It's literally vainglory. Like it's shadow.
Yeah.
There's shallow. There's nothing there to of substance. And I
Right.
think a lot of people are getting lost at this point in that. It's like a layer of existence on this plane that is where you go to be entertained and distracted. And as
Right.
long as your brain is entertained, it's not going to look too hard at the qualities of what's entertaining you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to question, is this worthwhile? Because it's being entertained,
Yeah.
which means it's not being threatened and it's not being challenged. So it doesn't have to work very hard. Brains don't
Right.
like to work hard. They'll take the simplest route, as everything does by nature. So where are we getting pulled into that plane? And if you want to really focus on your magical practice, don't. Don't get sucked in giving your energy away to that. Like just think of the football example. You're like, wow, 3 hours of freaking out
Mm-hmm.
because your team's gonna win, and like, you're invested in every single thing, and then they lose at the last second. Or, and now everything's miserable. Whew, that was a lot of energy you just put in.
Yeah.
A lot of energy. and it went nowhere. Like
Right.
it did nothing.
Yeah, and it's funny,
Nothing
right?
was advanced that day. Nothing improved that day.
Right. And when you think about it, right, it's not like like you had no actual investment in the individual players. You didn't like run them to Little League when they were younger. You didn't like go to school with them. You didn't do like there's no literal connection between you and that player except for they're wearing a jersey or whatever,
Right.
and that's it. Like there's no real bonds there. The bonds are literally superficial. If that jersey changes, you know,
Yeah, then you'll go for whoever's wearing the jersey now, right?
right?
And what's interesting too, she says, as the thread
Hmm.
kind of pulls pulls out
Hmm.
and pulls out. Um, yeah, no, that thread just went. It said not right now.
Hmm.
Okay, it'll come back. It'll come back.
Well, like going back on it, right? Well, going back, we've been totally stuck on that. We've been totally adhering to the theme of why do you care? Or, why do
Right.
you care? Well, I mean, where are your connections? Where you should be caring, where you should be putting your efforts is where you're connected. Like, I
Right.
mean, like, don't be necessarily like me. Like, if I'm not doing something with someone, it's not like I lose affection for them, but I move on and go to do the next thing, and then whatever. And then unless we're still doing stuff, I think fondly of you, but we're not doing things anymore, so my attention is now elsewhere. I probably didn't word that right because I don't want to sound, but like it's not an out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing, but it's like now I have to put my attention somewhere else.
Well, if we're distracted by entertainment, right,
Right.
whatever the brain finds entertaining,
Hmm.
and we put our energy into that, then we're missing a lot. And I think that's the
Right.
big point is what's happening when you're not looking. Here's an example. Like, I think this one is
Hmm.
epic. You can find it in any country, but especially in the US, especially. So when you watch an advertisement,
Hmm.
I'll go with Cheerios for now because, you guys don't advertise medicine. Nobody else does but the US. But
Well,
you
no,
got this
Canada
bowl
does
of,
too, but but go ahead.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
But okay, you got your bowl of cereal and you want to advertise that. You want people to buy it. So what does it look like? Well, there's the bowl of cereal. Yes, you see that being poured and what have you. But the setting scene is the kitchen is perfect. It's beautiful, top-notch appliances. Everything's clean, white surfaces. It's perfect. Even the dog isn't shedding, right? Nothing's happening.
Hmm.
And then you've got mom and dad who are the beautiful couple, right? Perfectly dressed,
Hmm.
both of them, attractive, hair's combed, like all the things. The kids are dressed. They've
Right.
got socks on,
Hmm.
that like they're fully dressed.
Yeah.
They're happy that they're going to school. I mean, are
Hmm.
we in La La Land yet? Because I kind of think so. And the only thing that really moves in that picture is the cereal. And the image that you get is the happy parents passing this wonderful cereal to their happy kids
Hmm.
who are suddenly even happier. And then they toddle off to school like little
Yeah.
angels, right? And the message with all of that is buy this cereal and this is what your life is going to be like.
Right.
That's the message. It's as subtle as a brick upside the head, but most people will miss that simply because we're used to seeing it all the time.
Hmm.
If you go on the medicine route in the US, they advertise meds here for every damn thing. Like there is medication for everything. And the meds typically have horrendous side
Hmm.
effects, often including death at the
Yeah.
ultimate point, right? If your reaction is really bad, etc. So what they do is they show you this person who's really optimistic and enjoying life, and maybe
Hmm.
they looked a little miserable at first and the image was kind of grayed out
Hmm.
just a little bit, and then they have this medication and suddenly they're in full color and they're all happy and life is wonderful. And just as they're telling you what the side effects are and how badly it's
Hmm.
going to damage you,
Right.
they do something completely different and very energetic over in a corner somewhere to drag your
Hmm.
attention away so that you're not listening to the blah, 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 blah,
Hmm.
and looking at the blurb at the bottom. right? And then as soon as they're finished telling you how many ways they're going to kill you, you come back to the original scene. It's
Right.
clever the way they pull the eyes away, right?
Hmm.
And the message your brain is left with is, oh, hey, I should talk to my doctor about that medication. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe I need that. And the doctors are so freaking overwhelmed and underpaid and overworked, etc. You go into one of them and say, hey, I need this med. They'll probably say, fine, whatever, here
Hmm.
you go. And they
Yeah.
get rewarded financially for all the meds they prescribe.
Mm.
That's how the hospital system works in the US. So, again, it's distraction.
Yeah.
What are you missing when you're being distracted? It's the key stuff. In life, what are you missing? Especially right now, what are you not looking at? Iran war? Okay, that is a very big thing. That is not insignificant.
Mm.
I would never make that a small thing.
Right.
And release the Epstein files
Yeah.
because that's a massive distraction. This shows you how important the Epstein files are.
Yeah. Someone had coined a term and I like it. For the Epsteinth time, release the files.
Exactly, exactly. And, people get pulled off in different directions,
Mm.
particularly when they have political affiliations.
Hmm.
If you're left wing, how can you possibly be okay with the Iran war? You can't. Even if the Iranian people are saying they want a
Mm.
regime change and this is the only way to get it. Conflict, conflict.
Yeah.
And you can't be okay with it because the Israelis are involved and left-wingers don't like Israelis. But what if this is actually a collaboration between Iran and Israel, which is what is often, I see that often in
Mm.
my feed anyway. So what if that's truly the case? Uh-oh, left have now got a problem. The right can be possibly doing something, they're not doing it right. And they're not doing it ethically or any of the other things. It's not legal, etc., etc. But even if they accidentally do something that's helpful for a
Right.
group of people, a stopped clock is right twice a day. Like they
Yeah. Broken
just
clock. Yeah.
where can you be flexible in what's okay and what isn't? And can you hang on to the main thread, which is for the Epsteinth time, release the goddamn files,
Yeah.
right? And why do we have to have all these files when there are so many testimonies already from so many women and a few men? Like,
Yeah.
why can't we believe the people? Why do you have to look at the documents anyway? But given that we do, release the goddamn files.
Well, when you look to other countries are already taking action.
Right?
So,
Even Britain, even Britain, by
mhm.
God, they're usually fairly slow to move. So, you know, yay. Mind you, they're also doing their own distractions, so don't
Yeah.
be fooled by that. There's a lot going on over there too.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their stuff and everybody's got their distractions,
Hmm.
so, you know, keeping track is important.
Yes. But that's why you need to know why you care. It's
And if you care, really, because
yeah.
sometimes maybe you're just going along for the ride.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I don't know why this kept coming up in my mind recently, but a lot of people used to admire me because of my ability to keep a cool head under lots of different situations. And I'm like, the reason I can keep a cool head under a lot of situations is because I don't have enough information. I really don't. And so then some people think, oh, well, then you must not just not care or something. Like some people end up with that kind of taking that wrong step with it. And it's like, why don't you want to react to this? Why don't you want? I'm like, I don't have enough information, and I'll tell you because one of the things sometimes people forget about me is that once I have all the information I need, nothing's stopping me from doing what I'm going to do. So I need enough information before I decide to act because I won't stop once I start. Right? It's the what does it go? The quiet person when they finally snap. It's like
Oh,
when a quiet person decides to say something, I'm like, that's kind of how I am. It's like I need all the information because once I take action, no one's like there's no happiness after. I'm taking the actions that need to be taken, and I need to for myself, I need to be sure of what I'm doing because I will put everything into it.
fair enough.
Right.
And you know that about yourself, so
Yeah.
that's helpful. That's very useful. Um, yeah, I think now is definitely a time to keep your awareness alive, if you will,
Right.
and not put the guard down because there's so many things to pull us off track right now. I'm reminded of, I have a picture, it's upstairs, of
Right.
the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree,
Hmm.
and there are five beautiful women scantily clad
Yes.
lying all around him. And these are the daughters of Mara. Mara is illusion in
Hmm.
Buddhism. And
Right.
the daughters of Mara are there to tempt the Buddha away because he's so close to enlightenment that Mara
Right.
doesn't want him to attain it.
Hmm.
And of course, he does not get distracted by these five beautiful daughters, and he attains enlightenment. We're in that time right now where the five beautiful daughters are all over the place, and Mara, the illusion, is everywhere, and it's not really the key so much isn't to smashing illusion because that will just create another one.
Right.
Like that's not going to get us very far. It's more how do you navigate within the illusions, bearing in mind that you're within an illusion and you
Right.
don't want to get distracted by it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like I've said this before in the podcast, and I say it all the time. The lies people tell you are important because it can be as revealing about the truth as telling you the truth is. Because what people choose to hide or tries to deflect you from, when you know that in the illusion, then you know where to go. So you kind of need the illusion because as much as the illusion is meant to be used against you, you can turn it around and use it against the person using it.
Yeah, if you're aware, if you keep your awareness that this is an illusion, this is a
Mhm. Right.
distraction, there are so many things wearing important clothes that aren't important at all, that's your path. That's how you navigate through, right? And the metaphor of, wearing important clothes is whatever you're giving your attention to.
Hmm.
It is wearing important clothes. So if you're spending lots of time ranting and yelling about politics to nobody in particular, well, is that doing something? Is there a purpose to this? Or are you just feeling righteous that you're doing so? And,
Right.
and be honest with yourself. Shadow work lies there, right? Shadow work is where you're
Hmm.
looking at what are you trying to hide from yourself? What are you trying to ignore or suppress about yourself? It's not wrong about you. It needs attention.
Right.
It needs you to focus. Like, I think we're in a time, we're not entering, we're in it, a time where shadow work is probably the number one place to focus for
Yes.
a great many people because it's what we've been taught to ignore. We're
Hmm.
taught, well, just don't do that. Don't think that way. Don't say those things. Don't yada, yada,
Right.
yada. And all those places where you've been told don't, but you want to, or don't, but you do. Okay, that's the place for you to investigate. Like, what's there for you? What's the
Right.
learning? Because that's where most of your learning is going to be, is in the shadows. It's not
Yes.
stuff in the light. You can already see that.
Yeah.
That ain't no big thing, right? We want to stay there because it's comfortable, it's not
Hmm.
challenging, and there's no surprises, or very few
Yeah.
surprises. But the shadows, meanwhile, are waiting with like, we have treasure boxes. Would you like to come and have a look?
Yeah.
There's so much here for you, and you're ignoring it because, you're worried about what you might discover. Well,
Yeah.
that's a surefire signal that that's where you need to go.
Hmm.
Go have a look at that thing.
Yeah. So this kind of ties, so to, to tie it into what I had said about, like I need more information to react to something because I know I'll go all in. Think about this as a time where you really do need to know why you care because you're going to be required to use your resources. Like it's not
Right.
going to be like someone's going to politely say, could you use your resources? You say no, they go, okay, fine. The world is going to do what it's going to do. And if you're not ready to know how you want to spend your energy, you'll just get caught in everything. So why do you care? Well, like I said, for me, because I know I'll act full with my full, we'll say full heart, my full energy, my full self. Once I know what course of action to take, and it'll be hard to dissuade me because I've already asked myself the questions. Why do I want to do
Right.
this? Is this the best course of action? I'll argue with myself until I've convinced myself that this is the right thing to do and I have enough information. And so then you're going to have to be very, very, very good to dissuade me because I'll have already asked myself, is there a better way? Is there another, like, is there another way? And once I've convinced myself there isn't, good luck because I am
Hmm.
unfortunately very dogged once I have my plan set.
Uh-huh.
So,
Oh,
but
that's good to
you
know.
need that going forward. If you want to make changes, you need to have asked yourself those questions because for you to know you're doing the right thing for yourself, anyways, as you see doing the right thing, you have to ask, is this the correct thing? Which, of course, you can always bring it back to your magical practice because I always like, and I've said it before, you need to be a skeptic because you need to understand, are you really understanding the flow or is this something you or someone else is distracting you from? Am I sensing the flow? Is this how the flow is going? I'm going to ask myself a question. What does it feel like if I do this? What does it feel like if I do that? It all ties back to how you understand the flow. Again, pendulum wants to say something. That flow is essential. It is necessary. It's the only thing that's going to guide you when you're lost in the
Well,
end.
that's in human design, that's your alignment. That's how
Right.
you know you're
Yes.
in alignment. And if you're not in alignment, then it's going to be a struggle, it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be all the things that society currently tells you are desirable. And that's when you know that you're going the wrong path for you.
Mm,
And how you know you're going the right path is it's a no-brainer.
right.
It's easy in that, not saying it always goes perfectly, no, but you're not struggling to come up with what's next or
Right.
what the path is. You're not in a place where you have to say to people, am I allowed to? Right? You
Right.
don't have that question if you're in flow because it doesn't need to exist. It
Uh,
doesn't show up.
so one way to also figure it out is like to make, because when we say easy, right? It's not that there's no challenges, but think of it from this perspective of your body will willingly give you the resources to do the thing.
That's
It
another
won't
good way of
fight you.
looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
It's
well,
just,
because it's been something I've been working on so hard trying to get people, like, trying even for myself to understand, like, what, like, right? Because we both do, food and stuff like that. And it's like, why am I having a hard time, like, cutting this out? Because your body's fighting you. Now, if you're doing something you want to do, like you really, really want to do, your body will go, here's the resources. Even if it kills you, your body will give you the resources because it's something you want to do.
if you're congruent
Yeah.
with the decision you're making,
Right.
if you mean it from the right place,
Yes.
which is typically not your head,
Right.
then it will all fall into place because it can't
Yes.
not,
Right.
right? It can't not work that way. Um, to use a real
Mm.
world example that's currently happening.
Mm.
The summit I've mentioned a few times that I'm putting together. I
Right.
have my last recording tomorrow, hopefully, if she's well enough.
Right.
Um, I got one more person to record for that. And it has gone really well to everybody's surprise. Let me qualify that in a moment. Like the speakers that have come on to this summit have almost all said to me, wow, this is usually something very stressful, and I'm not feeling stressed about this at all. This is fun.
Hmm.
And I didn't know it could be fun. I've had that from a few people. Well, the difference is that I'm doing it in alignment. I'm doing it exactly how I want
Right.
to do it, which is not the typical way of doing things. And I looked at that and I didn't like it, and I found it to be very struggly. There was a lot of, oh, I have to do this and then I have to do that. And there was a lot of things that just felt like blockades to me. And so I decided not to do them and to do it the way that felt easy for me. And I did it that way. And everybody that I invited in with that flow. And so when they said yes with that flow. And this has been, yes, it's work, but it's not effort.
Right. Yeah.
That's the
Like
thing.
we
I'm
got to
doing
keep
stuff.
re-stressing that your body will align with it. You'll get your resources. There
Yeah,
may be challenges on the outside, but you won't be fighting yourself, and it'll be easy in the sense that
it's not a
you're
struggle.
right.
Yeah.
For you
And that's
inside, it's
exactly
not your
how,
struggle. You want it. You'll flow with it. You'll have the energy for it. It's easy in that sense.
and you don't overspend your energy. There's the
Right.
other piece, right? I'm putting enough energy into this to make it go the way I
Hmm.
envisage it going. And other people are contributing in ways that I hadn't anticipated,
Right.
coming up with ideas. I have a speaker saying,
Mm.
"Hey, wouldn't it be great if we did this? Or could we add that?" And so far, I'm like, "Yeah, brilliant, let's do it. Yeah, brilliant, let's do it." Because I don't have the need to be the boss. Like, yes, it's me curating it. There's no way getting
Right.
around that. It is me doing it, but I don't have to be seen to be in charge. I don't care. That's not an important feature. So I don't care about that, right?
Right.
It's just this is a thing that's important to me to put together and to put out there. So I'm doing it. But I have all the resources I need, even when I'm exhausted from doing other things I don't like. When it
Right.
comes to this, I have all
Yeah.
the resources I need
Hmm.
and I use them for the amount of time I need them, and then they just kind of go back on hold again, right? There's no you continue to pour out even afterwards. If you've had a pissy day at work and you're stressed about it, you're still giving energy to that thing, right? While you're trying to decompress, you're still putting your energy out there, and it's exhausting. It's
Hmm.
utterly exhausting to even think about it. Whereas if you're in alignment, which means you're in the flow, it's not exhausting at all. In fact, it
Right.
boosts you.
It's
It doesn't
energizing.
take from you. So that's that's as clear as I can explain it for
Yeah.
knowing whether you're on the right path for you or not. It does it pull you along? Is it a no-brainer? And if it is, then you don't have to ask if it's allowed. Because yeah,
Yeah.
right? And you know what's right and wrong. Well, most of
Hmm.
us do inherently, ideally
Yeah.
without a religion needing to tell you. I worry about the people who need a religion to tell them. I gotta say, I really worry about that. That's a complete lack of internal compass, and that is concerning.
Right.
But again, if I go off on that route, that's a distraction. So I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. But it does tie into it. It's again, why do you care? I don't think a
Hmm.
title has ever worked itself so much into a into our
Right?
wording.
We're going to plug that goddamn title to death. But I
Yeah,
think
like
it is a good question to keep on your radar.
it's massively important, especially now, because you're going to be
Yeah.
asked, you're still going to be asked to, side with people, to do things you don't want to do. Like, I mean, and that's like life. People ask that kind of stuff all the time, but you're getting to a point where, as Persephone said, the door's closed behind you.
Mhm. And you don't have to. That's
Yeah.
another piece I'd like to bring forward is whatever somebody's asking of you,
Mm.
you don't have to.
Right.
You're going to inevitably end up in one place or another where your resources are requested, but you don't have to end up in that one in that way, right? You can redo things. You can think about it differently. You can bring up a new
Right.
perspective that gets you out of that trench that they're trying to stick you in. So, and again, that's kind of with the distractions. There's only one way you can look at this. This is, we're showing you how terrible this thing is. Therefore, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, maybe so, but do you have to have an opinion? And if you do, then what do you need to do with it? And, how much energy do you want to put there, basically? How can you honor your commitment to that cause or whatever it is
Right.
without compromising your energy or your integrity? How can you, where do you tread the line? So, for example, whenever I see a distracting post,
Hmm.
something that's clearly for the Epsteinth time a distraction,
Yeah.
then I don't even read the other comments or anything. I just put release the Epstein files and then I
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
And I just throw that out there, and that is my go-to. Here's my response to your nonsense.
Right.
Do I do it every time? No, sometimes I just scroll past. Sometimes
Mm.
I just turn the goddamn phone off and stop looking at it. But that's what I've decided. I will do that, and that is sufficient.
Yeah.
Right? That is as much as I'm putting into that because realistically, there's nothing else I can put there. So,
Yeah.
somebody hearing this might say, "What? Aren't you outraged? Aren't you this, this, this?" Sure. But I'm not going to put my energy there because
Yeah.
if the people who are in power that could do something about it aren't, then I'm not quite sure what I could do. I
Right.
could, however, run a spell on opening your eyes to your own actions, and I'm congruent with that.
Mm.
So, but that doesn't have to be public knowledge.
Right.
That's something I'm going to do, right?
Yeah.
It's not an energy I'm giving away into the void of social media.
Right. And and I'm glad you chose that particular type of spell because if you want true change and lasting change, you don't force something on someone. You open their eyes to something.
Yes.
Like the work we've been doing here on the podcast for the last, well, a little over a year now has been not forcing anyone to do anything, but it's been opening portals for stuff to come in. It's getting the downloads. And then what are we always telling you? You have to prepare yourself for it. You have to be you. You have to allow yourself to lock into what is for you, not
Yeah,
what we're
because
telling you is for you, what you have to do. And lately, we're telling you, hey, if it's not for you, right, magic's not yours right now, don't worry about it. Sit back, figure out why it's not for you and what you need to do if that's where you feel called to go in magic. But there's no forcing. It's never been forced. It is up to you to receive, not
and
up to us
and again,
to force it on you.
it's one of those things you'll
Yeah.
feel it or you won't, and there's no shade
Right.
either way. Like it's not a problem. It's just, if you're listening to this, then chances are this is something you're very interested in.
Right.
So I'm going to continue from that viewpoint because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a fair assumption, right? Otherwise, what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm.
But um, you have to decide your own path because nobody else can
Right.
give it to you. I was recording an episode for somebody else's summit earlier today, made me a bit late, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry about that, Danielle. And one of the things I said to her was, when somebody tells you what you have to do or how you have to do it or any of those things or what's wrong with you, that kind of stuff, um, they are telling you absolutely nothing about you. Absolute jack. They are telling you nothing about you. They cannot. What they are telling you, which is interesting when you can view it this way, is they're telling you a lot about their worldview.
Right.
They're telling you a lot about how they see things and what they prioritize and what they're afraid of. Because what they're afraid of, they'll find wrong in you.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is so interesting if you can be an observer and you remember not to believe any of this stuff because it
Right.
truly isn't about you. They're telling it to you because they're projecting and they want you to take it, please, because that
Mm-hmm.
verifies to them that they're correct. But this isn't the case at all. It can't be. I could tell Danielle he needs to, I don't know, let me think. You need to shave your beard off because being clean shaven looks so
Yeah.
much better. Well, does it though? Maybe I have a thing about facial hair that you're not aware of, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that I say, I'm bringing my baggage forward and my viewpoint that has been shaped by other people's conditioning. And I'm telling you that you need to care about that you need to be
Mm-hmm.
interested in that. But you don't, not at all. It tells you absolutely nothing, nothing whatsoever. So people who are stuck in what will the neighbors think?
Right.
I currently have a client whose spouse is very much stuck in what will the neighbors think. That is one of the most disempowered places you can possibly be in. It's ethereal. There is nothing tangible there for you to grab a hold of. How can you possibly know what the neighbors think?
Right.
How can you control what the neighbors think? And truly, why do you care about what the neighbors think? Because it means nothing to you. What happens then if you live next to them for 40 years and then they move? Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Or then you move. Now what? You have different neighbors. Like, why does this matter? Doesn't matter at all. You're not going to get thrown out of the tribe because the neighbors don't like you, or because the neighbors think your grass is too long, or whatever.
Yeah. We're not structured like that anymore.
Oh, there are still people like that.
Yeah,
I'm working with one right now, with the
yeah,
spouse of one right
yeah,
now. And it's just, it's so limiting because when she tries to do things, he's limiting her as
yeah.
much as he possibly can because he's always looking at the neighbors and worried
Yeah.
about neighbors. But the neighbors probably don't even know he's there.
I'm going to tell you a funny story. So before my grandfather passed, I think it was the year before, or anyways, we were doing Christmas, and my grandfather got a telescope for Christmas. Okay, so we had opened up our gifts at night, and so he wanted to try it. So me and my brother were going to go set him up outside, and we were going to go look at the stars. And my grandmother was like, "Oh, you can't do that." Well, almost literally. What will the neighbors think? And then me and Tammy looked at her at the same time, went, yeah, someone outside with a telescope at night looking at stars. What will the neighbors think?
Right?
We were like, did you want him to take it out during the day to look at stars? Like,
I mean, yeah.
yeah,
It's just it's a fear-based way of living your life.
yeah,
And honestly, that kind of tracks back to that original thing you said today of the person asking the question, am I allowed to?
yeah,
What will the rest of the group think?
yeah,
Am I allowed to? Like, yeah, like who are you asking? Seriously, you asking the neighbors? This is sometimes we get stuck in concern for goop, which
right,
is good opinion of other people.
right,
And you cannot do anything with goop. It is slippery, it is sticky in some ways, and you cannot grasp it, right? Because
right,
you could be the best at something in the world, right? And somebody's gonna pull you down as soon as they
right.
can, as fast as they can. We operate like this all the time. You have in the Olympics, the girl who won two silver medals, and she was at Eileen Chu or something. Eileen, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name,
Right,
but uh, she's like the most decorated female athlete or something. Like I know she
right.
has a ton of medals. The
Mm-hmm.
point of this one particular thing was she'd got two me silver medals, and the male reporter asked her,
Mm.
"Do you feel like you lost two golds?"
No,
Right? Like, I'm sorry, what? Would you like to come up here and get yourself a medal? Do you want to come and do what
yeah,
I just did? And that whole attitude of, yeah, well, you got that, but that wasn't enough for me.
mm,
I want to know if you're feeling as bad as I think you ought to. You know,
yeah,
absolute. What is that? So, how do you get the good opinion of that person? Do you
yeah.
want the good opinion of that person? I mean, seriously? Because I don't think it's something worth having, personally.
No,
And don't worry about criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. So,
right.
again, who are you worried about? So,
Yeah.
when you're asking those questions, am I allowed?
Hmm. Well, that's the thing, right? You want to talk again.
The pendulum came
The
out.
pendulum again wants to speak. It's a weird thing, but because I've allowed it to do my spell casting with me, it is very much aligned with flowing. And so every
Ah,
opinion that comes, I'm going to assume a spirit working with the pendulum, possibly inhabiting the pendulum, as I'm sure the stone, well, maybe, I don't know. The point being is that the pendulum had something to say. And the point is that the pendulum always wants to go back to understanding the flow of the energy. And if you're not in flow with your energy, you're in tune, asking a question will not put you back in tune. Being curious, right? Ask, because this person is technically asking for permission. And that's different
right.
than asking for information to understand. So, because the pendulum is very insistent on that, especially with that question, it's like if you are in tune with the flow, you do not need permission to do what you do because this is a thing that needs to happen because it's part of who you are. It's part of where you need to go. You're in tune with where you're going and what you have to do. I mean, again, it's always good. You can always ask questions. You can always be curious. But if you don't know what to do, it's not either your time to act or it's not your place.
Well, it's the quality of question,
Right.
right? And it's very revealing question when you say, "Am I allowed?" That's
Hmm.
that is so staggeringly revealing. But you bring to mind, so I'm studying Success Codex right now, which
Right.
is human design. I'm going to say elevated because that's how I see it. And there's more astrology involved
Right.
even than there is in human design. And one of the things that's included in Success Codex that isn't in human design is Lilith. And Lilith governs the code of permission, funnily
Ah,
enough. So there's 13 avenues, if you will, 13 codes, and one of them is permission.
mm,
So Lilith has a lot to say about that. And given that Lilith was, demonized,
mm,
vilified, all the rest of it, blamed for everything, um, simply because she knew her mind, she knew what she
right.
wanted, and was independent, right? All these things were now considered to be bad.
Right.
But if you need permission, finding out your success codex and your Lilith gateway
Mm,
is going to tell you a lot about how permission looks for you, where that comes from, what it looks like, how to access it,
right.
where you know that you are seeking permission where you don't need to.
Right.
Right? And there's a whole lot to that. It's absolutely fascinating. I'm loving it big time. In fact, it'll be in the summit because Ankara Rose, who developed
Right.
Success Codex, is in the summit and she talks about Lilith and the permission gateway. So that'll be cool. But yeah, we don't we ask the wrong people the wrong questions
Right.
sometimes. And so what kind of answer are you going to get, but one that's not very useful?
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Lilith, the video I did, well, when this comes out, it won't be the same week, but I had posted a video at checking in with people about where are they in their magic. That was Lilith's question. I just conveyed it for her.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, this is her time for
Yeah.
sure. But there's various periods in human existence where we've had different goddesses of the underworld. And
Right.
so I mentioned Inanna before,
Mm,
and I'm looking into her some more because there's a lot there. Persephone,
right.
goddess, not exactly, but same time, noteworthy.
Right.
Absolutely noteworthy. Hecate can cross the what is it? Cross the what do I want to
The
say here?
thresholds.
Yes, thank you. Cross the thresholds.
The
There's
goddess of
there's so
liminal
many.
places. Yeah.
There's so many out there, and when you if you're looking for a deity to you're looking who do I resonate with? What do I resonate with? Consider what aspect you're looking for.
Yeah.
This is coming through for me right now. So consider what is most important to you? What are you seeking? If you're looking for permission, if you're looking for recovery from the sense of abandonment, of suppression, the witch wound,
Mm,
all of the things that women are currently facing, and have done for many
mm,
generations, Lilith is going to be important to you. If you want the deeper shadow work, if you want the really let's get into it, I am so going there, then Inanna may be of
mm,
interest. Um, Hecate, if you're developing your witchcraft and you want to go deeper into the craft itself, Hecate is a fabulous deity to investigate. So all of these and more, Baba Yaga, she has her
mm,
own specialties that come forward and a lack of tolerance for bullshit, I will
right.
say. So, which is very cool, right? The thing to remember with all of these deities is, first of all, investigate different sources
Right.
so that you can get a sense of the energy that has been put
Right.
into connecting with that deity. And is this someone you want to be in relationship with? because this is not the I promise I'll go to church on Sunday if you let me win the lottery.
Right.
That's not how that rolls. And you won't like it if you try it, I predict, because I think things will go awry. Um, because that's not how the energy exchanges, right? There's a world of difference between transactional and openly giving.
Right.
And the preferable one is the openly giving, obviously. But when you're in relationship with the deity, what are you bringing? What are you bringing to the party? Like, are you just coming to
Mm.
ask for stuff? If so, do a little more research until you find somebody that you want to connect with. And then that is going to open some doors for you.
You know what? This brings something up that actually I'm pretty sure we've discussed this on the podcast before, but I don't know why it just clicked with me again. Offerings. Because what you bring to a deity, and then the word offering usually comes up. The offering is there to show your intent, to show your goodwill, to
Yeah.
show your whatever, how serious you are about your connection. But again, it's not a it's not a rule to follow. It's
No,
in
it's the
place of your
intent.
ability to connect. It's in place of your ability to connect until you can connect.
Intent is everything
Yeah.
here. So, for example, the one I've mentioned a few times now because it's such a good story. The guy in South India who was explaining to me
Mm.
about your Hindu god, the
Right.
god of your household could be a milk carton with a straw in it, so
Right.
long as you pay devotion to it. You put rice, you
Mhm.
put saffron, you put flowers, whatever you consider worthy to put
Mhm.
there as a sign of your devotion, right?
Right.
And so you could put gold there if you were putting it there for effect, for vainglory, you're just putting it for show, then it's empty. It's an empty
Right.
offering, and it's
Yeah.
not going to do anything to connect your energy to the energy you're looking for. It's not going to work because you can't bullshit your way through energy. It doesn't work that way. So, you could have the most humbling of item to offer. You got no money at all. So you go and pick the prettiest stones that you can find, or you
Right.
gather daisies or something. It doesn't matter what the thing is. It's the intent put into that thing. It's the devotion you put into it.
Right.
The effort in that you have thought it through
Hmm.
and it's considered, right? Rather than just a throwaway, oh, I'd better go do this thing. I was
Yeah.
once in a temple in Singapore with so Chinese Buddhist temple with a
Hmm.
Chinese Buddhist woman. And she'd got a question that was concerning her about her business. And Chinese people are very superstitious by and large, a certain group anyway, and she was one of them. And so she went to the temple to ask the question, and then there's sticks and there's like these kidney
Hmm.
stone shaped things that you shake and you
Right.
ask your question, you throw it down, and then you divinate, right? And the first one she did, she kind of went pale, right? Like the color ran out of her face, and she got up and ran over to a donation box and put $50 in it. And she came back over to me and I said, "Whoa, what was that?" And she said, "Oh, I've haven't been good in putting my money in there and it's going to affect my business. Let me try that again." And so she did another thing and she said, "Oh no, that wasn't enough money." And she went back and put more money in. And I'm watching this whole thing with
Right.
fascination. And I mean, it was very clever. If you're being a little skeptical and cynical about
Right.
the whole thing, which I
Yeah.
totally was, but she was there. She was there for that. And
Yeah.
it was just, how interesting was that? But the devotion of putting the money into the box, that was purely transactional. She figured her business was going to suffer if she didn't do that.
Right.
That was a fear-based act. That wasn't a devotion.
Hmm.
So
Right.
what are you connecting to?
Yes. And
Fear.
that's the
Woo.
that's incredibly the point. It's just funny how hard it came, like to really point it out because it's the connection you're building is important. So the mindset you're going with the connection you're building. So
Yeah.
that's why you're given a list. Like that's why you're given. uh, offerings are what you're giving, like, offer this, right? Because this is what this particular deity likes. But it's the in place of I don't know how to connect, so I'm going to do at least this thing, you know, to at least show that I've taken time to try to understand. But
And the thing is
it's
too,
the energy you're putting in. Like the
you
thought that
can,
it's literally the thought that counts in the very purest sense of what you were
yes,
thinking when you made this offering is what matters.
yes, it's what you're connecting to. So my friend was
Mhm.
connecting to fear because
Right.
that's exactly where she was
Yeah.
coming from. But even when you have a list of this deity
Mhm.
likes this, somebody determined that.
Yeah.
So you can work with it or not. If it feels appropriate for you, if it's practical for you, if you're in the Arctic, it might be difficult to find red roses for Lilith.
Right.
So what else would there be that you would value at least as much? Or like it's
Mhm.
what you put into it from your heart and soul, from your thought processes and so on.
Mhm.
It's what you put into the offering more than the vehicle of the
Right.
offering.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm trying to get to. So, putting the money in the box, and she must put $100 in there in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, you could have given that to me. I'd be I'd be pretty happy about that. But,
Yeah.
okay, so it went into the temple in the end. But um, her whole connection there, she went there out of fear because she thought something was going wrong with her business. She responded with fear and put the only thing that she valued really, which was money, but she wasn't putting it from oh, this will do good. This
Right.
is my heartfelt offering. No, no, no. This was
Mhm.
I'm warding off disaster in my business.
Yeah.
That's a whole other energy. That is a very different approach.
Yeah.
Do not bring that to any deity you work with. Do not do that. I'm not giving you rule books, but I'm
Mhm.
giving you that one. Don't bring that kind of crap to your deity. That's not going to progress well.
Yeah. I was gonna say, bring what you want. I don't have the
Mm-mm,
words for proper words for
mm-mm.
it. Yeah. I'm gonna say it wrong.
I could see where you were going there, and that's
Yeah.
not what you want to say.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. I'm like, there's no way out of this word, out of this sentence that
Okay, I
works
got it
right.
for you. I got
Yeah.
it. Bring what you want to connect to.
Yes. That's the one.
Yes. Because if you want to connect to fear, then okay, come with your fearful questions and your
Mm-hmm.
fearful thoughts and respond from that place to assuage whatever you think is about to do
Right.
damage to you. And that is exactly what you will connect to. That's the thing. You will get more of that.
Right.
So if that's where you want to go, okay, but it's not going to be a fun ride. Whereas, when you take time to create, if you want to create an altar,
Mm-hmm.
I have times where I really love to have a beautiful altar, and other times I don't even look at them. And sometimes I have more than one, and sometimes I have
Mm-hmm.
one. Like it literally depends. I can't call it from one day to the next how that's going to be. But when I create an altar, there's a lot of thought into what's going to be included, not, funnily enough, what's going to be excluded, but what do
Right.
I want in there? What do I connect to? And just what is the overall presentation? Is it worthy?
Mm.
And it might not look worthy to somebody else, and it doesn't matter. I'm not asking them. The question is, do I feel congruent with what I've put together? Is this a vehicle that I want to offer?
Yeah.
Rather than does it fit the textbook?
I'm offered this metaphor. It's like putting together a song. You don't include the notes you don't want, you include the notes you want. And that's how
Right.
you get your melody, your harmony, whatever. So, you know, if you need to step away from the whole analogy about doing magic or, that thing, you need something else to clear your mind, think about it as putting a song together. What notes, what melodies, what instruments are coming in. And so then you get the song you want based on what you're putting in, not what you don't want to put in, but what you want to put in.
Right. And I do encourage people to practice or to examine, to test, play with, however you want to bring that, with different approaches.
Right.
So you could find, excuse me a sec, you could find a plant that you particularly feel an affinity with.
Hmm.
Like literally, it's alive. There's no reason why not. So, do you want to put crystals with the plant,
Right.
or put it in a special pot or a special
Hmm.
place or something? A plant could be your altar. A tree
Right.
could be your altar. Like you can make a mandala. Look it up if you don't know what one is, but you could make a mandala on the ground outside
Hmm.
using sticks, rocks, feathers, leaves, whatever you find, and you can make that a beautiful thing. And know that it's very temporary because the wind's going to blow it away, somebody's going to kick it, etc.,
Right.
etc. That's the whole point of mandalas is that they are temporary. They're a
Right.
reminder of impermanence, but it can also be a very beautiful offering. So find the thing that lights you up and you don't necessarily have to keep to that all the time.
Right.
Something else might light you up as well. What I'm saying is don't limit yourself to one directional
Right.
practice. It's
Yeah.
not always going to have to be an altar.
Right.
It's just not. Sometimes you could be feeding ducks and that's how you're doing it. It's
Yeah.
there's different the thing is the act of devotion you bring to it rather than what it looks like.
Hmm.
It's not what it looks like.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't very much anymore really worry about what people would think about listening to an episode. But every once in a while, when we talk like this and we say how broad and how varied the things you can do, it's almost like people must be listening and going, how the hell are you supposed to do magic if you can do whatever the hell you want? Or there's no set way of doing things. But again, that would be with requiring rules.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, okay, let's go with that question for a
Yeah.
minute. How do you know what to do if there's no rules? Well, you check in with your
Mm.
inner authority, with
Yep.
your inner knowing. You'll know what to do because you're feeling it. And if you don't feel anything yet, that's where you start. Connect with
Mm.
yourself before you look to connect with the deity. So if you're feeling like this person has been bad mouthing me at work and I didn't get my promotion because of them. And now I just lost my boyfriend or whatever,
Hmm.
and this person's causing me trouble. I'm going to suggest you consider putting them in a jar, right?
Mm.
Like you write their name, you get some hair if you can, or,
Mm.
there's a bunch of different ways of doing this, but basically you put that person in a jar and you put them in the freezer and
Right.
then they can't keep running their mouth about you. So I don't know why that one came up. I have no freaking clue, but it just came out of the air to throw
Mm.
that one out there. And you'll know if that's something you want to do, right? Like if it makes you nervous, if you're worried about repercussions or you're worried about what people will think if they find it in your freezer or any of those things,
Right.
then you're not feeling it, right?
Why is
Whereas
there a
if you
jar of hair
just
in your freezer?
but if you just fuck it, this person's going in the jar and that's it,
Yeah.
then you're not thinking about those other things. They are going in the jar.
Right.
That's it. And you'll explain it if somebody asks,
Hmm.
but it won't be that person because they're not running their mouths anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
Cord cutting, that's another great one. Where somebody who just won't leave you alone, maybe it's an abusive ex or
Hmm.
something. You want to sever the ties. Then you've got candles, there's various herbs.
Hmm.
You could maybe use some incense. You can look it up. Um, and you have a cord wrapped around a candle for each person involved in this. Usually it's two, sometimes it's three. It could be any number, but and you light that and you see how it burns and what the candles do with the burning and all that. There's stuff to do, but that's another one that you're not going to need permission to do a cord cutting. If you got to
Right.
get somebody off your case, you're going to figure out how to do a cord cutting. You're just going to do it. You're in flow, right? That's
Mm.
that's all there is to it. So you don't need a rule book to tell you, yes, you can do it, no, you can't.
Right.
That's unnecessary. It just simply doesn't come on the radar at that point.
Right.
You'll just know. You want to do a spell to open the eyes of the politicians who are doing harm in any given country and all of them,
Mhm.
then feel free. If
Yeah.
you want to coordinate with a group of like-minded practitioners, even more powerful. Go for it.
Yep.
Because now you're coming with an aligned group
Right.
that's doing something. That's absolutely legit. You don't have to do everything on your own. You
That's
don't
right.
have to do everything in a group. You can do both, either or,
Hmm.
right? Again, no rules. It's we tend to do well in community as human beings, and if you want to make something particularly potent, doing it with two or more people tends to bring that for you. Um, but it's not essential. You can do your own thing. So there's no getting around the fact that you can do your own thing. We're not going to give
Right.
you a rule book.
Yep.
I might one day produce a rule book actually just for funsies.
Yep.
And on the front, it's going to say, here's your rule book.
Yeah.
And then inside, it'll be a whole bunch of blank pages.
Yeah.
And that's somebody's journal to play with,
All right. You can do like George Bernard Shaw, do a whole thing, and then at the end of it say, "Don't take anyone's advice." My final bit of advice is don't take advice.
right? Yes.
That was a good one. But you know what? I think this is a good place. I say I think, but seems like it's
Uh-huh.
a good place to end because I think we've established the idea of why do you care? Why do you need rules? Why do you care? Why do you care as in this is your gateway to do your thing if you're going to do something? Because why do you care? Why do you want to do this thing?
We always thoroughly thrash it out, don't we?
Yeah,
But the different perspectives are necessary because not
right,
everybody hears it in the same way.
right,
And sometimes you have to hear a thing half a dozen times or even a dozen before it lands. So
yeah,
there's something in that for different people, I would
right.
offer. Um, yeah. So take the bits that are yours and leave the rest.
That's right. All right. And on that note, I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone.
Till next time.
À la prochaine.